Jay Cutler is appearing more like Jay Cutler will miss Monday night's game, even though on that same Monday night game, Alex Smith, like Robert said, will be probably playing. So I think the reason why that's the case is because Jay Cutler has suffered more concussions than Alex Smith, obviously, and I think that the Bears will like to keep it safe. But the problem that the Bears have is that they really have no backup quarterback. They have Jason Campbell. Remember him, Raider fans? He's been a quarterback. He's been a backup for Chicago for a year, and coming off that broken collarbone that he had last season, he took all the reps with the starters today in practice. So look at Jason Campbell this week against the Niners. If Color doesn't play, and that probably will happen, but a big blow for the Bears as he's been has been more of a leader. He's shown more leadership out there this year than last season. This year, you see him yelling against Green Bay. He's just really going after the offensive lineman, just telling him, I'm your quarterback and I'm your captain. You got to protect me down there, and I'm going to help this team win." And he's been doing that lately. But obviously, this blow is really going to kill the Bears offensively. And hopefully the defense really is handy for the Bears this week, because the offense is not going to give a lot of help for a possible win here on Monday night. Uh, you know,
And Jay Cutler, it's reminiscent of last year as well when he was sidelined after a big-time injury. The Bears only racked up one more win after he was benched, and it just seems to be reminiscent of last year. Bears fans cringing for what might be a long second half of the year, starting up with perhaps the biggest game on their schedule in San Francisco, a matchup between the Niners and the Bears. Let's not fail to mention that not only is Jay Cutler the leader of the football team, but the tough guy that may perhaps make some sort of a comeback. And this is a tale of two quarterbacks that have really had more than their fair share of criticism. Jay Cutler in Chicago during his days in Denver was really not liked in that organization, was traded over to Chicago, reunited with Brandon Marshall, but has taken perhaps the most statistically top 5 as far as giving up sacks the Chicago Bears have, and he's taken a pounding and has gotten up every time. He might not get up for this Monday night game. Over on San Francisco's side, Alex Smith, he's had more than his fair share of criticism. 5 pedestrian years in the league after a lethargic first beginning of his career. Now 28, a revitalized season for him, and just the overall toughness of these two quarterbacks. Certainly, it would have been a big-time headline, but now it's up in the air if these guys will indeed make a comeback. Alex Smith perhaps will play. Chicago's Jay Cutler probably will not. And speaking of elite quarterbacks in the National Football League, certainly after 11 weeks, these gunslingers have start to come into their own as far as throwing the football down the field. And in a passing league now, these quarterbacks are putting up 30, 40 points per game. Nothing more evident than when just last week Peyton Manning shredded up in that game against Carolina, 36-14, your final. The Broncos are a hot team with Peyton Manning, and it obviously shows. He's the top-rated Pro Bowl vote getter in the entire NFL with over 350,000. So for Peyton Manning being the top quarterback as far as Pro Bowl votes, and then we read down the list here for quarterbacks, Tom Brady number 2, Rodgers number 3, then Ryan and Breeze wrap it up at 4 and 5. Just at the quarterback position, I leave it up to either Robert or Steven, whoever wants to pounce on this first. The Pro Bowl is up in the air, and right now, I don't believe that this list really signifies the elite quarterbacks in the NFL.
I really think that it really doesn't show. Peyton Manning, he's had his good year, and I think that he's a good reason why he's number 1. But Tom Brady, he's at number 2. He's really not had a lot of buzz this year, and I don't blame SportsCenter or any NFL show. He has not had a particularly good season. Rob Gronkowski hasn't really been open. Teams have really found a way to really cover Gronkowski after his spectacular year last season. Aaron Rodgers, he's had a pretty good season. That game against Houston on Sunday night a few weeks back really showed that he still has his gun back. He's gonna probably go after another MVP award again, and then going to Ryan and Breeze, two great quarterbacks out of the NFC South. I'm not surprised that they're so far down the list. Not a lot of a popularity down there in those type of teams. If Ryan and Breeze had more fan support, I see Ryan and Breeze at 1-2 because I think those two guys have been the better quarterbacks than Manning and Brady and Rodgers. Really, Ryan has led the Falcons to an 8-1 start. Breeze, obviously, he broke the record earlier in the season against the Chargers for most touchdowns or most consecutive games with a passing touchdown. So obviously, Breeze is having another great season with 25 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, excluding the fact that the Saints are 4-5 this season. But I think that the Pro Bowl voting is pretty much it's just popularity, and it's just paying Manning's back. I think people, since he's doing so good, I think that a lot of people are supporting him with the outpour of votes that he's getting, and it obviously shows right there. He has a 31,000 vote lead over Brady. But Robert, I want to get your input.
Well, I think some people take this as a popularity contest, in my opinion. Now, when you look at these top QBs, I agree with you, Stephen. Manning and Brady should not be up on those top two. I think Manning's just so popular that everyone wants to just vote for him. Have people ever looked at statistics, maybe how good they are as a QB? I mean, I know the Green Bay Packers are 6-3, but Rodgers has had a really good season, and his completion percentage is probably one of the best. But when you see Matt Ryan's, it's about 1% more up with 25 touchdowns from Aaron Rodgers. I really like that this guy can throw. But you have to give credit for him because their running game is pretty much bad. And Green has 87 carries and only averages 3.1 yards per carry. That is not good for running. And I think when you look at Matt Ryan, this is a lot more different. They're 8-1, and this guy has carried this team to a lot of victories so far this season, and only having that one loss, and it was close against the Saints, 27-31. And the Saints are good. Drew Brees is one of those top guys too. He can pass because some of these teams just don't have good running games, and the Falcons don't really have that much of a good running game as well as the Packers. So that's my input. I just think it's a popularity contest, period.
Well, I feel like it's a shame that the NFL, as far as the Pro Bowl voting goes, and it isn't just for the voting, but now the game might overall be eliminated because of how the lack of talent, or not talent, but the lack of effort in the Pro Bowl actual game set in Hawaii every year. The problem with the Pro Bowl voting, and we can read down the list, it's the same story for almost every single position, where it's based off of success from last season and based off of success from their team, not from the overall position. I think no one could argue that Adrian Peterson isn't right now having a better season than Arian Foster, but Arian Foster has more votes. I think everyone could agree that Victor Cruz has taken a year off, but apparently he's the best wide receiver in the NFC. So overall, just the votes as far as a position by position has seemingly gone off of last year's success or the success of the team. The only glaring player that is on the list, let's go starting with the AFC, the only glaring players that are on the list starting in the AFC that aren't in the playoff picture are the teams like the Dolphins with Jake Long and Antonio Cromartie with the Jets. Other than that, it's playoff teams and it's guys that have had success from last year. Haloti Ngata is hurt right now. Haloti Ngata is not even on the field, and he is the best rated defensive tackle as far as Pro Bowl votes go by a long shot. And then player number 2 is Henry Melton of the Chicago Bears. The issue with the Pro Bowl voting overall is last year's success and then the success of the football team. I believe that the fans should have less of a say as far as Pro Bowls and leave it to the guys that really know the game, NFL experts, and the players themselves. So right now for the Pro Bowl, I just believe it's completely it's just, and I want to get your guys' lasting thoughts on this issue because this really is, and it's gone up to the league office as well because the effort is not there as well. Is the Pro Bowl, as far as voting and as far as actually getting the product on the field, is it even worth having all these players travel to Hawaii to play and having all these votes being the biggest controversy coming towards the latter portions of the year?
I look at this Pro Bowl as taking this seriously. This is a game that you really want to show yourself as, hey, I was the top guy. Maybe I should really prove myself. Instead they don't even really try at all. Really pisses me off that I have to watch a game and it's not even that exciting anymore. I see good people on this list, but Victor Cruz, what a joke. Come on, really? Out of all the people, I like the running back, Adrian Peterson. That makes a lot of sense. This guy is one of the greatest running backs I've ever seen. This guy can run, and he's a big guy. But I think this Pro Bowl is a joke.
And also, Robert, what's a joke is you couldn't have any more examples as far as Pro Bowls. I'm just kidding, Robert. Steven, what do you have on this situation?
I think that last year they had the big controversy, a lot of players really criticizing being here, somewhat wasting their time going to Hawaii and just playing somewhat like a charity game in a way. They're not really tackling. They're not really doing a lot. They're just maybe like pushing the guys just a little bit. And you see last season, Brandon Marshall was the MVP because he was wide open all the time. It wasn't really fun for the defensive and offensive players to really play in if it doesn't really matter. Plus the fact that the teams that went farther in the playoffs, like the Niners Pro Bowlers, the Patriots Pro Bowlers, Ravens Pro Bowlers, and Giants Pro Bowlers were not even in that game because they're still playing in the playoffs. So it still wasn't interesting. It still wasn't interesting with the players that were available. But I think that the Pro Bowl needs to discontinue. In my opinion, it's really. I think the NFL is trying to get popularity out of it, just expanding its popularity to Hawaii, which is not really a big state in the United States where football is popular. But I think that the Pro Bowl needs to discontinue, in my opinion.
And Peyton.
Also, I want to continue on this. There's one more. I think this is a vacation for the players. They're going to Hawaii just to have fun. They don't really want to play real football. All they do is just want to play, oh, hey, here's the pass. You're wide open. Let's just score up to maybe 100 because no one's going to try.
And there's a lack of effort overall as far as Pro Bowls. But obviously, and, Steven mentioned this point outside of the broadcast, but it is still very important to have these players recognized as being the best as far as play in the entire NFL. And Peyton Manning topping the 2003 Pro Bowl voting at this point. And before we get any farther, I leave it over to Steven first of all. Is Peyton Manning the best quarterback in the NFL right now? He's certainly proving it with a big second-half performance as he has really turned this team around from a 1-3 start. And Peyton Manning, outside of the 3-interception game against the Falcons, he's really made a name for himself. And right now, this big-time veteran that has the most NFL MVPs out of anyone in the NFL, all-time NFL record, is Peyton Manning the best quarterback in 2012?
I have to disagree with that. I support Manning all the way. I loved him when he was in Indianapolis when he won the Super Bowl. But right now for this year, I think there are two or three quarterbacks that are better than him this year. And this is pretty much it. Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, and I'll actually say this right now, but I'll say Aaron Rodgers is better than Tom Brady right now. Not Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning he's had his good games, but he's playing on a Broncos team that has still not gone over the Tebow Mania effect. Tebow Mania is still there in Denver. There's still a little bit of just talking about what if Tebow was there. Even though he's getting criticized in New York, I think that since Manny's done a great job in Denver really helping this team, that's why he's getting so much press, so much good press on how he's doing his best and how he's really doing all the work for Denver. But out of Breeze, Rodgers and Ryan. I gotta pick one of those guys over Manning.
Robert, do you agree with Steven's point?
Yes, I do. And Manning, yeah, he's a great QB. He's had a great season so far. As you said, you made a good point, Rice. 1-3, carrying his team back to 6-3, and this team is in contention right now for the AFC